right. Welcome back to the Strange Noise Podcast, everybody.
What the fuck is up, man? What is up, you guys?
In the house. Look at this.
We're back.
Oh.
High fives. We're touching.
Yeah.
We're touching.
We're touching.
Wait, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Boom.
We got the. We sprayed before we came.
Sprayed everywhere. Oh.
I sounded a little fool.
We sprayed everywhere.
Hey, man, you gotta be clean.
Gotta be clean.
Yep.
Well, welcome back, everybody,
Yeah.
to the Strange Noise Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
We couldn't take it anymore.
Well, and to be fair, here in our state, we are opening up.
Yeah.
I think they just released. They said a full opening by July 4th.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I mean, we're just doing it a little early.
Oh yeah. Who do we interact with? Our family and
Nobody. Yeah. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. We did check our temperature though, and
Yeah.
And it was high.
straight fire.
Straight fire.
Or so the kids say.
Or so they say. Yeah.
We're lit.
Yeah. Lady. You know what? It sucks because if you don't commit, you sound like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That's the thing, Like I fall into that where I haven't committed, and that's when you sound the worst.
Well, like the
With the slang,
the slang.
Or any slang ever existed on fucking planet Earth,
yeah,
dude, if you don't commit.
Whenever I say lady, I say lady like a fucking titty.
Yeah,
You
see,
know?
that's committing. That's committing, and it sounds so much more authentic.
I think what Cardi says that.
Does she?
That's where I got it from. I saw her do it like on something. I
She's like, meow.
don't know.
If it's good enough for Cardi, then
Then we're gonna drop it,
just like Cardi.
just like Cardi.
But welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe up a button.
Please subscribe. Button.
Subscribe, notification bell, so you know when we drop this shit.
Yep.
All our socials will be in the description.
Yeah, we're there. We're in there like swimwear.
Ooh.
And girls, how swimwear gets in there.
Up in the ass crack.
Yeah. Or even guys, when you wear trunks with that netted shit, I always cut it out.
Oh yeah.
I can't do
hate
it.
that stuff.
I haven't wore the netted shit since I was like 5.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like the net is for us, like the netted stuff was for the cheaper board shorts. Like when you upgraded, when you got your first pair of Quicksilver or Hurley board shorts, you're like, there's no netted stuff in this.
There was no netted shit.
What is it trying to catch? What are you?
No, it's weird.
What are you keeping in there?
Like, what was that? And the net was literally like a fucking same shitty net that you would find on other things,
I hated it.
It wasn't that it was made of better material, but still a net. It was still made of that chalky net, and it was chafing. Horrible.
Comment down below if you wore the net in your board shorts.
Yeah, please.
We know
We'd
you
like to
did.
know. Yeah.
Oh, man. But yes, we are back.
Glad to have you back. Second episode
Like
in the
this.
showroom
Yeah, that's
or in the
funny.
fucking studio.
Second episode, but 9th episode of the season.
9th episode.
Yeah.
We're fucking deep, man.
Oh wow, dude! That's what sucked most about this is building this whole set, spending, God, like 2 months,
Yeah,
3
really? It
months,
was
more
wild.
than and building
Wow.
the set, and then
One episode.
one episode, and then fucking COVID.
Fucking bad. Nope. But we're back, and we can't fucking. I'm excited.
Yeah,
It feels
I'm
like,
about to flip this table.
Fucking tear my shirt.
feels like it's all brand new again.
We got
Good. I'm glad.
we
Good,
got
man.
gear.
Oh, yes.
Hey, there's some gear.
I'm feeling like Will.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But sweet. What we get into?
Oh yeah, we gotta do this, right?
Oh yeah,
do the podcast.
Yeah,
Rape
let's do the
van.
podcast. Rape van. Recently, when I was driving on the freeway, I had seen a really dope van, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion because I know that Econolines have like a stigma for being a rape van.
Oh, yeah.
So, especially a white van, it'll never lose its stigma. Everybody knows like that's the fucking rape van. Never trust a man in a big white van. There's like, the saying, but the one that I seen was so fucking cool looking. It wasn't set up like a rape van. It was painted. I seen a black one and I seen this dope one. I didn't get to find the picture on my phone. I will show you the picture of the black one, but there was one, it was black and green. It looked so fucking tough, dude. Like the paint job was sick on it. Like the green was splashing into it, so it looked really cool. And that's when it triggered in my head, and I thought, you know what? If the stigma wasn't there, vans are amazing. Like they're very utilitarian,
sure.
Like you can fucking pile a lot of stuff in there.
That's for the Econoline van, right? Like
that type of van,
Okay.
like that
Okay.
bubble van,
Yes.
that old '80s bubbly van.
Isn't that what we drove around in Love Speed?
Yeah, what did he have? Oh, we had one of those conversion vans. That's what it was, like those old conversion vans that kind of like were a little more comfortable. Like they had like a bench seat that turned into a bed.
But he had that bubble window on it, right?
Ooh.
I think he has a bubble window on it.
Those are the ones that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
See, those like fell in the same rape category.
Because when I think
Sketchy
about
paint job.
I think about like when I think about those vans, yes, the rape van comes to mind, but then it's the band van.
It is a band van.
Yes.
I think of the band van, yeah. And
because you got those cockpit seats, dude.
Yeah, or even like the fucking like old school heavy metal like bands with paint like fucking unicorns. Well, not heavy metal, but like you think of like those pin up girls on the side.
Murals.
Yeah, murals. There you go.
Yep, exactly. Those are the vans. See?
Yep.
So, and back to that, like on your note right there, talking about like the murals. At one point, I mean, people fucking love their vans.
Oh, yeah.
You know? They were taking care of it. You know, obviously they were using it for sex. You know,
which is like shag carpet inside. You know, you
what
fucking
led to the ill intentions. You know, like eventually some guy was like, "Yeah, I'm having sex in it, but I might add a 13-year-old girl to the situation," and that's where it all fucking went downhill, man.
That's when you got the bad rap.
But the '60s were a fucked up time.
They were.
Just kidding. But yeah, they lost their luster. Let's say, you know,
they lost that love and feeling.
Hip. Yeah, they lost that love. This band's rocking. Don't come a knocking, man.
Dude, but no, you're right. Like some of those turn out really dope. Like I've seen them like with like the lift. They'll get like a 6-inch lift with like big old mutter tires on it.
Yeah, people are just getting them now and turning them into pretty much like off-road vehicles.
Like
which is cool.
The weekend getaway vans.
Yeah. So like that one right there, showing you guys, and we will pop up a little photo so you guys can see it too.
Yeah, that one's hella sick.
Just so you guys can see it, it does have these big knobby tires on it. This thing's got like those KC lights that are on the top too, like on a rack. Dude, this thing can go anywhere, and I don't know why, but it has those KC lights on the back. So they must be doing some stuff where they're parking
outside,
and they're like trying to see everywhere. Maybe they're camping with this thing.
Like Ed was saying, the friggin' outdoor, like you're getting. What did you say? Oh, like camping and going in like off-roading.
Yeah. You're going off-road, so you need to see where you're going.
Yep.
That's how they work.
Fill in the blank,
dude. But do you think that our generation grew up with the idea of like the stranger danger van?
Don't trust
the candy van.
Yeah.
Do you think since a lot of people will probably be doing that to their vans nowadays, the new generation will grow up thinking that they're cool again?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're gonna bring in this, new idea about the van.
Revamp it, pretty much the idea of it.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna take the van back.
I want one now.
All right, welcome back. We are back.
Yep, we in here.
Enjoyed that little break. We needed a break.
Yep,
our cameras needed a break.
I hope you guys really do enjoy the breaks. I don't know what you guys do on the break, but
yeah, gives you a little time. Go get a bag of Doritos or something.
Blow some boogies out. Something weird.
It's actual chance for them to hit pause because realistically, it's only like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I know.
But like break. It's not even a fucking break.
So, I had a question.
Yeah, all right. Let's hear it.
So, okay, I was listening or I was watching a review of some newer guitar pedals, and they were talking about like different distortions and things like that. JHS is doing like a series of different fuzz pedals, and they're like they're modeling like classic ones from like the 60s all the way up to like the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And one guy was doing a review on one of the pedals, and he was like, "Oh, this is a classic distortion. This is a vintage distortion." He's like, "This is from 20 years ago."
Yeah.
And then so I was like, 20 years? I was like, it got my wheels turning because, I mean, 20 years ago, like I think of like 20 years ago is like I'm in my teens. We're in our teens.
Yeah.
That time.
Are we fucking around with pedals then? No, huh?
What?
Are we messing around with music yet? 20 years ago?
So 20 years ago would have been 2000, right? No, we were like freshmen in high school.
Yeah. No, yeah. We were like playing guitar by then, I think.
I think you were.
Yeah.
Ooh, you might be
Maybe
right.
Any high school, right? Weren't you guys already playing music?
Yeah, we were.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
I remember. I think that's when I got my Uber metal pedal. But anyways, that's another story.
It's vintage now.
Yeah, it is vintage.
So that's what it got me thinking. Like, okay, so 20 years ago, it sounds like a long time. Like, when I was younger, like, whatever, like in the mid 90s, and I would hear like music from 20 years ago, which would have been at that point like late 70s music.
Sure.
Right? I would have definitely said, oh, yeah, that's classic. That's vintage. Yeah. But now that I'm older, I'm like, is 20 years like, is that vintage? Is that classic? I mean, Because
all right, the way you put it right there, you said like when we were listening to like, I guess you would say classic rock. It was like 20 years, right?
Yeah, like in our like youth, like probably like mid 90s.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago would have been like mid 70s.
Yeah.
So classic rock.
I mean, in a technical sense, it is vintage if you think about it that way. Because we thought 20 years was vintage when our youth, but now like think about it, our music's vintage. You know,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Like good old Limp Bizkit and
the good old Limp Bizkit days. No, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't think so.
See, that's the thing. Like,
doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't feel like it.
I'm wondering, does the scale, is it on a slider as you get older? Like for vintage, to classify something as vintage, is it just because we're getting older, so we like to say like, oh, okay, well, no, that's not vintage yet. That's because we don't want to kind of admit to being old, or is it more? Are things on a sliding scale a little bit now? Like,
so the way I learned it was with antiques. That's when I first learned the vintage term,
Antique Roadshow,
and it pretty much was the Antique Roadshow because it was one of those either Pawn Stars, American Pickers, or Antique Roadshow. Any one of those, and they were describing why things become vintage. And traditionally, if you think about something, and they gave like a really basic example, and it was you as a child playing with a toy. 20 years from that point, you're old enough to, well, you're no longer playing with toys, first of all. But second of all,
depends on what kind.
Those toys don't exist anymore. They stopped being manufactured, and I don't know who came up with the 20-year mark, but that is like the mark for something vintage. It's enough for you to grown out of it and also get old enough to be reinterested in it again, to have some sort of like maybe chasing nostalgia.
So it's enough for like a rediscovery. And is that what you're saying? Like,
yes, so to speak. Yes, it's like a few things that make it vintage, but the 20-year mark is what I've seen.
Is the 20-year mark maybe because like that's basically another generation at that point? Because at 20 years...
Sure, yeah, it's a few generations, really. It could be.
Yeah, because if you say you discover something at the age, let's say 10, right?
Yeah.
20 years from that, you're 30.
Right.
I mean, you could easily, have a kid at the age of 10 at that point, and they're discovering something that you were discovering as well. You know?
Right.
So maybe it's like a generational thing? Like, I don't know, like...
I don't really know why, but
see, that's the thing. Like, but it doesn't feel right. Like,
it doesn't feel vintage at all. And I mean, vintage. It's the word "fucking vintage." I think is going to be different for everybody. You know, depending on your age. For us being born in the '80s, hearing it, fed to us for certain things. For certain music or for certain fucking, toys. Guns, fucking things, whatever we've seen in our lifetime, antiques, we consider those things vintage. That to me, like when I hear vintage, I automatically think antiques, I think, and see, antique could be a lot of different things too. See, right now, what I did, that's a good example of what the word vintage has become, Antique itself isn't just a radio or an item. It could be many things that are antique, but in my head, I feel that antiques are those, like, So vintage, for some people, they don't think music. They think, do
you think
style maybe?
Do you think too, like the classification of age goes like, I think vintage is a little bit earlier than what you would consider something antique. So like that Polaroid camera over there, that's vintage.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to like grab like a radio, say if this one is older, now that's antique.
Yes.
I would consider those two different classifications.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as items are concerned.
Yep.
Now, when we get into music or something like that, like I feel like maybe are we starting to get into like a gray area because like with like streaming music, like there's so many different generations that are listening to different things. Because
so now you don't have to fucking buy a vinyl to listen to a classic song.
Exactly, you can stream it. And this is my question because
that's good. Yeah. Okay.
Like
I'm following.
If 20 years ago, like the Backstreet Boys were out, are they considered classic? Like, see, like
classic pop?
Are they?
Okay,
I mean, but that kind of makes sense, right?
Classic pop. When you said that, that made me feel okay. It needs to be coined. It's gonna reach a point where it does get coined. similar to classic rock. It wasn't always called classic rock from its inception.
It was just
It
called
was
rock.
just fucking rock, you know? And then it made a point where it departed so fucking much that they had to like almost defend it, you know, and say like, no. What we used to play, that's classic rock. What you play now,
modern
rock or punk or it's fucking whatever, you know, whatever was happening at that moment when they felt like, you know, we have to define these two things.
So what do we do with things that are kind of having a resurgence right now? Like if we do like Nirvana or, you know, things of like the 90s, like the grunge era.
I think that genre is going to change, but like it's going to be called something else. Like, you know.
See, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, because you kind of coined the term classic pop.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. But like if we take grunge rock, you know, like we're taking like, you know, Pearl Jam, we're taking, you know, a Soundgarden, Nirvana, like all those those bands, that music from that area. Like, what do you call it? Like, I mean,
classic. Call it new grunge.
New what? Oh, with the new.
You call it new grunge.
There you go, new grunge.
So I wrote that because I was thinking something similar a while back. Apparently in December of freaking last year. Because I was thinking, okay, with this grunge movement, because that's when I was really thinking about it. I was like, man, it's coming back, but I think with music, you don't really want to. I think we should keep calling that grunge, and if anything else comes after, you just sort of give it that twist, you know, like pop punk, you know, like that's like what do they call that?
But I think that's like if you say pop punk or post punk or something like that, that's because it's a divergence from the genre, whereas classic punk, classic rock is aging the music. You know what I mean? It's saying like classic is below this many years. Where you say if you say post punk, pop punk, those are just another pathway from that genre that was spawned.
And you're kind of right, like the punk. You would like, well, I guess you could say classic punk or something like that, but you would just say punk, you know, like if you
I think punk's one of those genres where you can
and anything that spawned off of it. Like so grunge could be similar, you know, because grunge kind of came out of the punk era, you know. So you could it could probably be classified the same, where like it's just going to be known as grunge or as, you know, whatever 90s rock. I don't know what you might You just might get into the thing of what you were saying of like, I think we were off air of like, you're more classifying things of decades.
Yeah.
More so.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying with the new grunge, because like, if you think about it, like you got lo-fi hip hop. You know? You got chill out EDM. You got, you got those different things, because it does harken back to an older age of that, you know, of that music. And I think that terminology came from like, say, producers and stuff like that, because they were looking to integrate the sound of
stylistic
sound of a tape recording into something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are just like divergence from the genre. I don't know.
It's interesting because
but when I think of like, sorry to jump in, but I think like a little bit deeper into the vintage versus classic, because we as mid 30-year-olds don't think like freaking think of like AFI, because they're 20 years ago, you know, 20 years ago. We don't think that as classic rock because it was in our lifespan, in our youth. You know what I mean? Where I could say like the 60s was not in my life, you know, even 70s music was not in my lifetime at all. It was born before me, so I consider that classic. Where I don't think, like, you know, Blink-182 is classic pop punk, you know, because
even though technically they are in the time frame,
they're in that time frame. But like when I think about it, for me, like a deeper like look into my brain or mentality is it was in my lifespan, so I don't consider it, you know, vintage yet or classic yet. Maybe vintage, but not classic. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's a thing. I think that gets to the point where I was saying we're like, not that we're not trying to feel old, but because you're right, since it was in our time, in our, you know, time span, our whatever, our youth or whatever, like it's hard to classify that as other because it was still in our lifespan.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, Rob was saying earlier, we're like, classic rock. It wasn't called classic rock when kids were growing up with, Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin. There wasn't called that. And I'm sure at some point, maybe when, I wonder if they ever started calling it classic rock.
You think about psychedelic rock?
Or maybe they
called it different things,
Right.
Yeah, you got Jimi Hendrix, got freaking
Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
The Dead.
You just reach a point where usually it's like a radio DJ or somebody that has that sort of audience and power to coin something, a certain phrase or whatever it may be. So the classic rock thing, even hearing it now, sounds fucking stupid. It sounds really horrible,
when you actually dissect it?
Yeah, when you really dissect it and you think about it, like that's a really shitty way to name something, And I'm sure they thought the same exact thing too, like classic rock. Like I'm sure they thought just fucking rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like telling someone, oh, you were like, this punk. It's like, no, it's just fucking punk. They feel it's whatever they were making, which leads me to believe too, anybody new can jump into the scene and make any fucking music, right? Don't you think it's possible?
Yeah.
Like someone could jump in right now, and let's say if the genre exists, so like grunge is a good example, or punk, they can pop in right now and say, I am playing punk music. And then they can even go further to say like, well, these are my inspirations. And let's say they are using maybe some of the pioneers of punk as their inspiration. I would at that point say, okay, you can, yes.
You can call yourself punk.
You can call yourself punk. You're following all of the rules and you're paying homage in a certain way. Because that's really all it takes, If you don't pay homage, because we talked about the homage thing before. If you don't pay homage, you have no right to, almost like take over something, because you're trying to fucking pretend it's yours, you know?
When you try to take ownership of something that's, and I think with punk specifically, like it's almost its own thing, because punk is more than just like the music. It's almost like a mindset.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So like that, it's a little bit different, but like, so like if you take a band that's like, say we've talked about before, but Greta Van Fleet, where they pretty much sound like Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Like you're going to say that they're classic rock though, or they sound classic rock,
Yeah.
You're gonna classify them that way.
Right.
Whereas punk, like you're right, like it can take on that meaning still for some odd reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it feels like you're right, like certain things just get wedged into a genre and then other things kind of like have a identity of their own. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some things do have an identity of their own. I think like when we started listening to bands like Touche Amore, I'm just going to use them as an example because they were breaking that like hardcore sound barrier, and it was very fucking punk. The songs being so short, very like for me, that was one of the telltale signs. I was like, oh, that's really punk, because it's a fucking short song and
it's in your face.
It's just noise,
It's straight to the point, in your face.
Yeah, it's just like really beautiful noise.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things where you have to identify. You're like, that's punk rock.
Yeah.
Like, like when somebody's doing something or whatever, like, and you have to actually just classify it as like, oh, that's punk rock. Like if somebody's like, DIYing their own merchandise, some band is making their own merchandise. They're only selling vinyls. You're like, oh, that's punk rock.
Right. It gets to the mentality of like, if you go like deep into it, it's like punk rock is a mindset.
Yeah.
It's like your mindset. It's not your music that you're making. It's the mindset, like the DIY.
Absolutely. Yes. Anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's why, like, when we're speaking of like things that are classic or it really like it's funny because I think punk broke the barrier because when a lot of these things like classic rock or whatever classic pop, it's marketing. It's really like it's a somebody that's trying to figure out how to sell this to a demographic.
Yeah.
Where punk, it kind of broke that. We're anti-establishment, we're anti-consumer, we're anti-this. You can't shoehorn us. You can't sell us in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. That is what it is.
And so maybe that's why, punk kind of broke that in a sense where these other genres or things are marketing tools to be sold to a demographic in a sense, So
yeah. It's man. When I think about it, like when I think of punk, I think it's just spawned out of shitty musicians. So they didn't learn their, And hold on, that's like from when I think about it, it kind of begun there, and then you got someone that like you think about the Talking Heads, Exploded. They're considered punk. You don't think of them as punk, but they're considered punk because they're playing like what is it, like a divergence from punk, but like they were musicians that knew how, not the singing, but like they're guitarists, like they knew how to play.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this is like off topic, kind of changes the topic a little bit, but I know I when I think of punk, I think of I like punk.
Yeah.
But you think about punk now, like when you think of Touche Amore, doesn't sound anything like you would say the origins of punk, like the Clash.
No, it's refined.
Yeah, it's refined. Yeah. You got actual musicians. I'm not saying those guys weren't musicians. I don't ever want to take that stance.
Well, like you have a point though, because the thing is with the original punk artists, like you take the Sex Pistols or any of the Ramones, any of those, even if you go a little before them, they weren't really trying to. I mean, they were trying to play music, but their goal wasn't to be great musicians necessarily.
Yeah, for sure.
They were more like they had a purpose. They had a stance. They had like what is it? A message.
Yeah.
So you're right to say that musicianship was on the really second to their message.
Yeah. I mean, I like those songs too.
Yeah,
they're fucking great in their own sense, and I love them.
Well, and then now you kind of get to this era, like now it's kind of musicians are mixing the thing where I want to be good at my craft, but I also want to be on message.
Yeah.
So you're kind of getting amalgamation, whatever.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah, that's a word.
Amalgamation.
But I'm sure this is a way bigger topic.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we can talk forever.
We're gonna have part 2, part 3.
We'll definitely have to have part 2, and then we'll all come with plenty of like homework done.
Yeah, because there was like something that you said, Rob, that kind of irked me a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to get into it now.
What was it?
We'll leave a teaser.
Teaser.
So say what it is, and then we'll get into it later.
I get it. I understand the reasoning, but when you say pay homage, like I've as a musician producing music now, I was like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I respect paying homage, but then like, just don't want to like I want to be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Well, paying homage doesn't mean you have to follow the recipe that they did.
Yeah.
You just have to acknowledge they existed.
Yeah. That's the part I get. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not replicating anything. Your music can be as unique as you want it to be, but if you want to identify as any one genre, I would say you have to know who that fucking creator was to pay homage. Like you have to say, like if you wanted to call it EDM, and you have to fucking know who fucking created EDM. Like I feel like you should know that. Like it's the homework that makes you a much better musician rather than the person that just fucking everybody's talented, man. It's not even about talent anymore, dude. It's like the stars are the people that fucking absolutely know everything about it. Like they're the fucking they're the ones that have gone like, crazy over it, like they fucking, there's another word that I'm trying to find, but anyways, they're
obsessed.
Yeah, they're obsessed with it, so they've done their homework, and not only are they talented, but they absolutely fucking know.
The connoisseurs.
Yeah, they know like the progression of the music itself, which helps you fucking be a better musician, man. It just does,
This could be this has to be a topic in its own because that's a.
I get what you're saying, but it still kind of rubs me the wrong way.
And I'm kind of.
I get what you're saying.
And I'm kind of in the middle.
And I think that's like
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
And see, like again, it's because there's talent. Talent is like dick. Like I'll tell you that with full confidence. Like you're talented, but without everything else, you'll never be a star.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like I promise you. Like I'm only basing this off of the stars that I see, and I look at the stars, and then I look at the people that are very talented, and there's fucking hundreds of thousands of them. None of them are stars because they're missing that part of the fucking formula, dude. Like you can't exist, dude. Like. Somebody just recently said it. It might have been Michael Jordan about Kobe. He was like, no, I knew he had it in him. Like he was a star from the moment I fucking seen him because it was everything he fucking knew about basketball and how passionate he was about it. It wasn't just like, yo, guess what? I can make a 3-point every single time I throw it. You know, it's like, well, how long have you practiced and what? He's like, no, but I do practice and I have practiced every single word, every fucking point of the fucking key, the top of the key, bottom of the key, everywhere I've done it, you know? Like, so it's like, he's not just like, I'm lucky because the talent was lucky. Yeah. Like, there's a difference, and those are the stars, man. Like, and there's very few stars in this world, period, you know? Like, we all have a star. We all have someone we're inspired by. They are who they are because of a multitude of things, not just because they got lucky with the talent and, you know, the talent was spotted by somebody.
They had a good PR agency.
Although there is that too, you know, but
this is what we have to put a pin in it because this is going to go for
with the PR agency. You're talking about marketing.
They're marketing
anything can be marketed.
Persona.
Anything can be marketed. We can market shit today and it can sell, dude. Like it's. But how long will that shit be fucking sellable? That's the thing too. You know, you may be hot for a fucking year, but do you want to be hot for a year or do you want to be fucking God that never fucking dies, dude? Yeah. Like, do you want to be fucking Jim Morrison in 2020? No. Like, people still fucking know this guy, you know? Like, they still know the name. He's an icon. His fucking face is painted in fucking Venice Beach, you know? Like, thousands of people came after him, but not everybody's face is fucking painted on fucking, you know, on the walls of Venice Beach.
This could be into that discussion too, because there's a thought on what made people legends. Yeah. And part of the thought is because they died so tragically young. Because
absolutely.
The thing of like Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, you know what I mean? Like all died 27 Club. And Jimi Hendrix. You know, they all
absolutely.
And so that's part of the discussion.
Amy Winehouse,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her.
So that's like a different thing.
We're gonna go deep in this
because see, that absolutely helps too. It really does.
Advocate.
That's like you know, that's like Andy Warhol. You know, like it's just Basquiat. You know, or Basquiat, however you fucking pronounce it.
I think it's Basquiat.
So what? The other artist, Basquiat. Yeah.
Basquiat?
But anyway, it's like that immortalizes you, you know?
We'll have to bring that in.
We'll bring it up because,
All right, I think that's enough for this episode.
Yeah. Me and Rob got to go out back and settle something.
We're going to fucking tussle a little bit.
They had a gentleman's disagreement, so they're gonna handle it.
We're gonna go out back and pay homage to the early wrestlers in WWF, which changed to WWE later, but we won't get into that right now.
Gotta go shirtless and oil yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm down.
But thanks everybody for joining us on our episode back in our studio.
Back in the studio.
Fucking back, you guys.
I hope you guys felt that the energy was different.
Yeah.
It feels good, right?
It does.
Yeah. It's a dynamic. I love it.
And I think because we haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys knew, like, we legitimately haven't seen each other for most of the quarantine.
It's been fucking a very long time.
Other than that, it's like, maybe, you know, from a distance. Hey, what's up? Until later.
Drive by.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. So we're back.
We're back.
And then, so all the episodes should be back in our studio. Unless, you know, we go full communism and
God, no.
turns into a fascist state. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yep.
If you guys made it this far. Also, if you're listening to the audio version, go ahead and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yep.
And please hit that bell icon.
Yes.
Get notified whenever we release new episodes.
We drop some shit.
Yes.
So you can hear us. Because we're going to continue this fight later.
Yeah, come back next week.
Ooh, round 2.
Ding, ding, ding.
That was just an appetizer.
It was.
Yeah. Really get into it.
We didn't even realize it was an appetizer, but it honestly was. So there's plenty more where that came from.
Don't forget, hit that like button too. Help Father Algorithm get us out to the world.
Yes.
Yep. Likes, comments, please. We'll take them all. Whatever you guys got.
And if you guys have any suggestions for topics that we can talk about.
Yeah, you guys want to hear.
Yeah.
We're down.
Some questions.
Absolutely.
Some things, our opinions on things, because our opinions are always right.
Yes. Our opinions are the only opinions that matter.
So, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. I guess that's been everything, or this episode, not everything.
Yeah.
That's been it for this episode.
That's been everything for this episode.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Later.